Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to make traditional Indian raita. I love raita because whenever I'm eating hot curry, the raita is what cools off your poor tongue. When anytime you eat a curry or a vindaloo or any of these very spicy dishes that are Indian, when you eat that spice, you need something to counteract it and cool it. And raita is the accompaniment to many of those dishes, which cools it because it has, of course, yogurt. And the dairy product helps cut that very spice that makes your tongue go ouch and your tummy go ouch. So if you're not used to it so much, raita is very good to have with your spicy curry. So our recipe, we need the full-fat Greek yogurt. I have a hothouse cucumber. This is the type that's best to use for this recipe. If you don't have a hothouse cucumber, regular cucumber is fine, but this is always preferred because the seeds in the middle are very compact and tight. You can scrape them out easily and then grate this on the box grater easily. Fresh cilantro, fresh mint, ground coriander, ground cumin, and salt to taste. You can use table salt. I prefer kosher salt, so that's just my own preference, but it's just to your taste. So when you're finished making it, taste it, and then add the salt as needed. And we have our cutting board, our knife, our peeler, and a spoon to remove the seeds from inside of the cucumber. So let me start getting everything measured, get my mise en place together, and then we can start making the recipe. All right, so we're preparing the mint for our raita, and I'm separating the mint leaves, and the easiest way to prepare them is to lay them flat in a pile and chop them up finely. Okay, so easy to take the biggest leaves off of the stalk, lay them down on top of each other. And we only need tablespoon so if I pile them up in a little pile like this, I can chop them up. Now if you want to do what's called a chiffonade, you can roll this up really tightly and you can cut very long strips, very thin, long strips, and that's called a chiffonade. But we want to actually get nice small chopped pieces, but if you ever want to put a nice chiffonade on top of, we're gonna be making our blackberry apple crumble, we could put a quenelle of whipped cream on top and then a chiffonade of mint. That would look very pretty. All right, so this is one way of cutting it, but we want to actually get a chop. So I'm going to just finish cutting this bit, and then I'll start chopping it up to get very small, fine pieces. So okay, and we need a tablespoon. You don't want to chop mint too much; it will bruise, and when it bruises, it turns sort of a dark color and doesn't look as beautiful as the bright green that you need. All right, so there we go. We've got a tablespoon of the mint for our dish. Here's our yogurt. So I'm just gonna put that right there. And next we're gonna work on the cilantro. I'm not gonna waste any of this, we'll put all of that in. Here's our cilantro. And I just wash that off, paper toweling it dry. And since all of the stems are down here held up nicely, I'm just gonna keep it in a bundle, make it easier. And this I'm just gonna chop. I'm gonna eyeball it. We need 2 tablespoons of the cilantro, so that'll be double what I just put in there, so that's about that. And now I'm just gonna, again, chop this up, rotate, chop the other direction. now I'm gonna start preparing the cucumber. So I'm just gonna quickly turn that over. I'm gonna cut this into manageable pieces because we're gonna use the grater. So I'm gonna split it down the middle. And the seeds in the middle, I wanna remove them. So I just use the spoon and I scrape out the middle. And I don't want to remove all of the skin because a lot of the nutrients are in the skin. So I'm just gonna sort of like leave a little bit of space between the strips, okay? And what we wanna do now is use our box grater and grate the cucumber. We're gonna try to get 1 cup of grated cucumber. Remember, be careful with your fingers. You want to grate your finger. All right, so we have our 1 cup of grated cucumber. I'm going to add that now to the yogurt and our ground coriander, our ground cumin. We're going to stir it all together. And then we're gonna taste it, and then we'll add the salt and figure out how much salt we need to add. So this is a beautiful bright green accompaniment to curry, and all these beautiful flavors are just gonna make it wonderful. Now I have had raita also with carrot. So if you're making this and you really like carrots, you could also finely grate some carrot and add it as well. And that makes it a little more interesting too. So if you want to experiment and make it with carrot, please do so. What I would do would be substitute half carrot, half cucumber. So if you were doing this, you could make 1/2 cup of grated cucumber, 1/2 cup grated, finely grated carrot, and that would be good. So I have my spoon. I'm going to taste it. Let you know what I think. And I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So this is a 1/4 teaspoon measure. I'm just going to sprinkle that around. Now the other thing is that this needs to sit a while for those flavors to meld. So I'm going to stir this all together, and I'm going to let it sit for a while in the refrigerator, come back and taste it, and then adjust if necessary. So I'm going to let it sit for at least a half hour, and then taste it again, so all those flavors can come out. All right, this has been in the refrigerator for about a half hour, and I'm going to taste it. So good. Definitely, definitely wonderful. I did change it a bit. So it's very cooling and very refreshing, which will go perfectly with our Indian dish that we're making, which has a lot of spices in it. And so what I ended up with is 1 cup of the Greek yogurt, 1 cup or 4 ounces of the grated cucumber, 2 tablespoons of the fresh cilantro, 1 tablespoon of the fresh mint, 1/4 teaspoon of the ground coriander. I increased it as a 1/2 teaspoon of cumin and a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. I want everything exact because I want to be able to reproduce this recipe every single time. That's why I have a weighted amount for that, and I'm so specific with the amount of salt, because once you've tested the recipe and you finally decide on your final version, then you don't have to worry about it ever again. You just know that you've already tested it, it works, and these are the best measurements to make it work. So I hope you enjoy watching all of our recipe experiments and testing recipes and perfecting them to get them the way we like them. And I'm certainly going to enjoy trying this out with our